Secular Society TV, and I'm Fari Bospuya. Secular Society TV is a half-an-hour program which is broadcast on New Channel TV every Saturday. We try to bring you the news and the issues around secularism, intrusion of religion, and in particular political Islamic movement in people's life, and its destructive impact on people's daily life. I have the pleasure of having Mariam Namazi, campaigner and women's rights activist in the studio today, along with Bahram Surush, a human rights activist and commentator on the Iranian and Middle East issues. In today's program, we'll be focusing on the campaign for one equal law against introduction of Sharia law in Britain. Let me start by asking Mariam Namazi. Mariam Namazi, tell us briefly about this campaign. How was it introduced, and what sort of brought you to, encourage you to actually start this campaign in Britain?
Well, I mean, the campaign started December 10th, International Human Rights Day. We thought that was a great day to start a campaign against Sharia and to demand equal rights and citizenship rights for everybody. In Britain, Sharia law has become an issue. There's been many Sharia court decisions that have been taking place, and thousands actually over several years, and it's affected women and children in particular, but in general I think it's had a hugely adverse impact on British society. And so we thought this is a great time to push a campaign forward because of the amount of opposition to Sharia courts, but to push it forward from a completely human rights perspective, an anti-racist perspective, a perspective that's pro-immigrants' rights, pro-asylum rights, pro-women's rights and children's rights, but also one that is unequivocally and unconditionally opposed to, Sharia law, which is truly barbaric and medieval.
Yes, I mean, the campaign has attracted a lot of attention. There is a petition online which quite a few thousand people have signed it.
Yeah, in the past 2 months, there's over 100 people signing daily. So we've already got over 9,000 signatures. There have been a lot of well-known personalities, organizations that have signed up to the campaign, and we are working towards a rally and march, as well as a public meeting on March 7th to mark International Women's Day. We think it's a really apt day to bring attention to Sharia law and its discriminatory aspects for women and children in particular.
Yeah, Bahram Surush, why should people join this campaign, and what's the significance of this campaign?
Because Sharia law, like other religious laws, they contravene people's rights. They contravene the Sex Equality Act, the Human Rights Act, the equality laws of Britain and European Union. They are against the basic rights of people. So the campaign is sending the message that we should not have a parallel system of a legal system alongside the legal system of the UK, which is governing civil courts in this country. So setting up Sharia courts based on on Sharia, which is a legal system in its own right, is a body of laws which covers family law, civil matters, as well as criminal matters, contravenes and breaches the basic rights of the people, and especially because it affects the most marginalized sections of society. And for this reason, there should be no law which is based on Sharia or religion. There should be no parallel legal system.
Yes, I mean, you mentioned that it sort of undermines the basic rights of people. What are the examples that Sharia is in Britain? Has it been implemented? Clearly the government says there's no such thing as Sharia law in Britain. I mean, does it already have an impact?
I mean,
we hear about Sharia law,
yeah.
but we don't actually see what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's been implemented for many years. The Sharia councils have tried over 7,000 cases. The Muslim Arbitration Tribunal, which has been established quite recently, has already tried several hundred cases. And if you look at, there are a lot of examples of how this contravenes human rights, particularly in the areas of child custody, divorce, marriage, and so on. We know that Sharia says, for example, that a woman's testimony is worth half a man's, that she doesn't have full rights or unequivocal, you know, she doesn't have the unilateral right to divorce unless her husband gives her permission to, whereas men have the unilateral right to divorce. Child custody has to be given to the father at a preset age, irrespective of the child's welfare and what's better for the child. That's part of Sharia. That's what happens in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on and so forth. But you have many cases here in Britain where the exact same thing is happening. If you look at, for example, the Muslim Arbitration Tribunal, they themselves have given information about 6 domestic violence cases that they've worked on, that they've decided on. And in all 6 cases, the women have dropped their charges with the police. The men have been given anger management courses. And, you know, their victory, they say, it's great because we've kept the family together, because they don't see domestic violence as a crime and violence against women. And if I can just give you a couple of more examples, because I think it's important for people to hear, is the Islamic Center for Pluralism. They've done a report where they've interviewed 90 women. And there's an example, for example, of Sophia, who was 13 when she was put into a forced marriage. And she said that she saw 3 imams, and they all said her marriage was legal, that she had no right to leave the marriage, even though she said she was forced into that at the age of 13. And only when her husband gave her an Islamic divorce did they allow her to have a divorce.
Isn't there a denial on the part of many people, in particular British government, that this is not happening? Because apart from the petition online, 10,000 people or nearly 10,000 people have signed, there is a petition on Downing Street, which is over 5,000 people. And the British government has responded to that. They've sent a response, I guess, they've sought advice and responded to the petition. It seems to me, from the text of the response that the government has produced, that they are actually denying there's such thing that there is as, you know, the dangers of Sharia law sort of having an impact on people's life. They refer to it as, you know, on the personal level, people have the right to dress and brush their teeth the way they want, but as long as it doesn't move into the criminal or civil, and it doesn't contravene the British legal system, it's okay for people. I mean, where do you see what's the problem with the British government response?
I think it's basically deceptive, because it gives people the impression, because I've actually gotten a couple of responses from people who've received this letter. Oh, isn't that great? The British government is saying that Sharia has no place in the legal system. But what it's actually doing is denying the fact that for thousands upon thousands of people, these are actually courts, they are actually implementing laws and violating people's rights and in contravention to British laws. Okay, a British court hasn't made this decision, but nonetheless, this is the law for the woman or the child involved, and it is a contravention of human rights. So in that sense, I think what the British government is doing is shrugging its shoulders. It's ignoring the fact that, you know, it's calling it a personal matter so that it doesn't have to intervene. And what we're saying is that it must intervene, because these are violations.
Clearly, there is a campaign to bring an end to the implementation of Sharia law in Britain. Aspects of it is already in place, and British government is denying it. The campaign, One Law for All, One Equal Law for All, and a campaign against Sharia law, it's continuing, and it needs to be recognised this is a danger. We'll be back to continue our discussion.